What is up, gang? This is the X-Teen Featurette channel. I'm Chris, and I have a TGIX review slash pickup video. So if you are following along at home, Laren a couple weeks ago sent me a really awesome box of movies, and this was one of them. And he's been asking me for a while about Escape from New York, and because I had not seen it previously, so this is the first thing I watched out of the box of movies that he sent. And I'm going to talk about it for a little bit because I told him I would. This is kind of one of those things. This is 41 years old at this point. It's from 1981. It's one of those things where I don't know how, I just haven't seen it over the years, but it's one of those ones that's escaped me. Pun intended. So I love Big Trouble in Little China, and it was really hard to not compare this to that movie when I was watching this. But what I really dug about it was the cool dystopian vibe. Obviously, the score to it was amazing. Very, like now I just hear it and I'm like, it just immediately takes me back. I've seen it one time and I'm like, okay, like it's already burned in my mind. What's really weird about seeing this for the first time now is that, I haven't seen it, but I've seen so many movies that were obviously influenced by it. So there were many aspects of it that felt familiar to me, even though I had never seen it. So I can definitely tell how this inspired a bunch of films. My biggest problem with this movie was the fact that Adrienne Barbeau is in so much of it. I cannot stand her. I think that she is incredibly boring. Probably the most boring actress I can think of. This is set in 1997 in the future, and basically the entire island of Manhattan is turned into a maximum security prison. It's all walled off. I guess this is at the end of a war between the US and the Soviet Union. And I could tell, like, watching this, that, like, parts of it were reminiscent of, like, Watergate and things in the storyline. It was definitely, whenever we think of, like, 70s and 80s New York, and then it got kind of cleaned up, and, like, this is, like, what if it just progressed and got worse and worse? Basically, that's what we're living in current day. So, we might be heading towards this direction soon. Obviously, Kurt Russell's character is Snake Plissken, and he is a veteran that is in this prison because he attempted to rob the Federal Reserve Bank. So he's in this dystopian world, and crime is up 400%. The conflict is that Air Force One is taken control of, I don't want to say the H word, by the National Liberation Front, and they are basically trying to take him hostage, and him, the person that's on the Air Force One, and he escapes in an escape pod, but they basically get him anyway. There's a police commissioner, I think, named Hawk, who's played by Lee Van Cleef, and he tells Kurt Russell, like, hey, Snake, if you're going to be doing this job, and if you don't, like, I'm going to inject this thing in your neck and you're going to explode. Like, your arteries are going to explode in 24 hours if you don't save the president. So basically, Snake is trying to save the president, and in exchange for doing this service, he is going to get amnesty, and he will no longer be a prisoner. So, he will die otherwise, so it's like that's his incentive to get this done. So he has to do that. He has to save the president and escape from New York, or he's gonna die. And I guess that's the plot. He's selected because I guess he was like a pilot or something, and he has to land this glider on top of the World Trade Center and make his way down, and it was very weird. There's areas where they show, like, Broadway, and it's, like, overrun by people. They drive a car down it, and every car has to basically be armored because people are just, brutalizing each other, and I was just like, it's kind of weird how people are able to sneak around, and Cabby, Ernest Borgnine's character, is able to just be kind of happy-go-lucky in this prison, and I guess there's areas that you don't want to go to, but that was really interesting. I don't want to go into too much detail because I feel like literally everyone's seen this, but everyone in this movie is a character, like all very cartoonish characters, and they're all like caricatures of themselves. So we have Isaac Hayes playing the Duke of New York. He was a phenomenal character. I absolutely loved him. My boy Tom Atkins is in this. I feel like he should have been like the police commissioner. Like, I feel like he should have had the bigger role that was like corresponding with Snake more often. That would have been pretty cool. I feel like a lot of the scenes were kind of like confusing to me. Not confusing, but like not really sure what they were supposed to be adding other than like atmosphere maybe. Like a lot of the scenes with the bad guys I felt like were kind of like, I don't want to say fluff, but just like extra. There was one scene in particular where Snake had to go toe to toe with some big scary guy in this ring, and I think he was actually a wrestler. I forget his name, but that whole scene, I was like, why is this even in here? Like, I don't understand how he got into the situation fully, and I mean, it really reminded me of Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. This came out before that, or I would have thought that it ripped it off completely. So there's one kind of example of like that influence that I was talking about. Like, I feel like this in a way inspired Mad Max 3 because of that. Snake does eventually make it to the president. The whole time that we're seeing him leading up until then, the president has a briefcase handcuffed to his arm, which is, very, very cliche in movies, but, it's a nice touch. And whenever he finally, like, opens it, one of the bad dudes, like, actually steals the contents of it. There is a cassette tape, and for a brief moment we hear what's playing on the tape in the car, and it sounds a lot like Watergate. Like, it sounds like there's something that somebody shouldn't be hearing, and that's like, here's some evidence here in this briefcase. It's never really fully divulged what is on the tape, but I think that there is some references. When Kurt Russell asks what is on the tape, Hawk says, "What do you know about cold fusion?" And he's like, "Okay, whatever." So it's very vague as to what's on it, but we get the impression that it has to do with the current war at hand. We know that the president was supposed to be on his way to some peace talk, and that's all that we really know. So even though this has been out for 41 years, I had not seen it previously, so I won't go into detail about what happens once they get the president, but I will say that I think that it's overall, like, it had very cool dystopian vibes. I love a good dystopian movie, and this is a perfect example of one. And I think overall the story is a pretty cool social commentary about elites and, people in politics and people that are of a higher class than people that are, like you or I, are literal prisoners. And because there's a scene where the president, Donald Pleasance's character, is being questioned about the people that lost his life in an attempt to save his, and he's like, "Oh yeah, good, thanks to them," and he just kind of glosses over it. I just thought that really perfectly portrayed how he viewed his life as more valuable than other people. So I thought that was a really cool comment. So overall, I really loved it. I just thought that there was a lot of like getting from point A to point B and focusing on the henchmen, and way too much of Adrienne Barbeau for my liking. All of those things I was kind of like, but overall I thought that it was fantastic and absolutely a great dystopian flick. So thanks again, Laren, for sharing this. I now have the character of Snake Plissken in my collection, and that is obviously a keeper for sure. So very, very awesome flick. I would say that it's a necessity for anybody that likes action movies, dystopian movies, or anybody that likes Kurt Russell, because how badass is he? So let me know what you think of my synopsis of that. And while we're here, let's just go over the stuff that we picked up very recently within the last couple weeks. I just reviewed Deadly Games. Check that out from Arrow Video. I also received for review Serve Nazis Must Die on Blu-ray. I have not seen this movie in at least a decade, so I am super excited to check this out again. I love Troma. I love all these old weird flicks, and I love this movie. I just have not seen it in forever, so this is the perfect excuse to give it another watch. So I will be reviewing that in the future. Also received a couple titles from Kino Lorber. These ones are getting the 4K treatment, but I have for review the Blu-ray copy of Murphy's Law with my boy Charles Bronson. I have not seen this. I'm so excited about it. Eastern Promises. I have never seen this. Wanted to, because it is directed by David Cronenberg, and really, really cool synopsis on the back. My husband says that it's kind of messed up and he doesn't want to see it again, but I don't know. I'm going to see what it's all about and let you guys know. And also, Touch of Evil with Charlton Heston, Janet Leigh, Mr. Orson Welles, and it's directed by Orson Welles. So I have not seen this yet, but I know a good deal about it from what I've read. Like I said, Kino has released a 4K of this, so that's available. Also, I think back whenever the Super Bowl was like on and stuff, my husband had like a hankering for some football, so he picked up Necessary Roughness. I've never seen this, but just looking at it, Scott Bakula's on it, and that's the guy from Quantum Leap. So there you go, the guy from Quantum Leap, and your boy Sinbad's in it. Then we have another Mikey Keaton movie, The Merry Gentleman. He picked this up. He told me he thought that I would like it, and I'm sure I will. I don't know anything about it other than Mikey Keaton, and there's some dude holding a gun on the cover, so I will watch it. He also picked up an Edward Norton, Robert De Niro pick, The Score. And it says it snaps and crackles with extraordinary acting, and I'm sure that it does, given that cast. So Angela Bassett and Marlon Brando. I know nothing about it, but I'll watch it eventually. We have No Country for Old Men. I know that my boy Tommy Lee Jones is in this. Have not seen it yet, I don't think. I always wanted to. Never got around to it. Then for something completely different, my husband's been on a Rob Schneider kick. So we got The Benchwarmers, which I only caught part of this like on TV a while ago. I loved what I saw, and you know, now I get to watch the entire thing. I love John Heder, and I love David Spade. I love all those guys. Rob Schneider is dope. I think that he's cool as hell. So I'm happy to be diving into his filmography. Some silly ass stuff. We also got The Hot Chick, and so I have not seen this. I've not seen any parts of that one. And The Animal, he bought it, and he's like, what the hell is that? I'm like, didn't you look at it before you bought it? It's like some sort of a rental copy that they, you know, did some janky Sharpie job with. But I don't know. I mean, he was like, oh, I want to take it back. And I'm like, bro, it's a comedy. Like, does it really matter? Is somebody gonna come into our physical media library and pull this off the shelf and be like, The Animal with a sticker with Sharpie? What are you, some kind of a loser? Get your shit together. Nah, I don't think so. And if you do, I'll cry. So that's a little look into what we've been watching, what we've been picking up, and now I need to get down on it and watch some more flicks. Thanks to you guys for watching this. Thanks again, Laren, for sending this to me. Thanks for sharing Snake Plissken with me. And let me know what you think about that, what you think about these. I will see you next week.